Welcome to The Weighted Mind, where we lift more than just weights. We lift each other up. This is a space where fitness and mental health collide.
From gym struggles to life challenges, we're here to talk about the real stuff. The highs, the lows, everything in between. No filters, no fluff, no BS, just honest conversations about what it takes to build both a strong mind and a strong body.
So whether you're hitting the gym or just need a mental reset, you're in the right place. Welcome back to The Weighted Mind. I'm Dev, this is Ty.
And today we have a very special guest. We have the owner, CEO, operator, creator, and man with 20-inch biceps behind Rebellious Archives, Quinn Briscoe. Happy to have him on.
Welcome.
Thank you. That's quite the introduction, boys.
Well, I got to live up to the hype, right?
We've been teasing it for so long.
Yeah,
I mean,
you share it to your Instagram. I got to bring this up.
Yeah,
right? So it's got to be good. So, we're going to talk about you today and what you got going on. So if you wanted to start, tell everybody about you.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Okay, where to start? Well, I'm a local boy.
Yep.
Born and raised in St. Catharines. Lived a pretty normal life growing up. Went to Holy Cross, played some sports.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know. Holy Cross. Tough
DM boy, you know,
tough
it's tough.
bounce. Honestly, only went there because it was relative to the elementary school. You know.
Fair enough. I get it. I get it.
And then I kind of just followed like that traditional path where I was like, oh, you're going to go to college or you're going to go to university and then you're going to get a job and you're going to have your 9 to 5 and you're going to like it. And honestly, that's what I did for my whole life up until like 15 months ago when we started Rebellious. So
damn,
yeah, it wasn't anything like, I was never like this one who like didn't fit. You know how you hear these stories of like entrepreneurs who like just didn't fit in. And they knew from the beginning, you know, that they weren't going to go to school and they needed to do something else. And I was like the complete opposite of that. I was like, I'm going to go
blue collar boy.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I wasn't very like, I guess, rebellious, as you could say.
There you go.
I went straight into college after I graduated high school. Did 3 years at Mohawk for electrical engineering technology. And then COVID happened. And then I got hired on at my job and that was it. Then I was set as they would say.
Yeah, I was going to say, right?
Yeah.
Setting that work life stuff. Yeah. So what kind of sparked that desire in you to kind of get out of that 9 to 5 knuckle dragon?
Yeah, because that's like a completely different like switch. You know, like you want to like start your own company and stuff when you're working for someone. Like,
for sure, and like most people would say, like I had kind of like in a sense like traditionally made it, I guess, if you could say it. Like I had landed that cushy kind of like government public utility job.
That thing everybody's chasing,
right? Yeah. Right, and to me, I had chased that, and I had finally got there, and there was no road or no path as to what I was going to do after, because it was like a goal of mine.
Yeah, you kind of set yourself up for that, and now you're there. So.
Yeah, 3-5 years goal to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, then I got it. So in terms of the brand, if I'm being completely honest, all the credit goes to my brother.
Oh yeah, okay.
Really?
So my brother and me are polar opposites. Okay. He is that entrepreneur kind of vibes through and through, hate school, never been about school, couldn't do it. So the funny story is I had moved out. I was living on my own. My brother was still living with my mom, and he was 3 years into, he was in his third program of school. So he had tried 3 different things.
Okay.
And all throughout, he was like trying different things like drop shipping, and I want to do this and I want to do that. Nothing was really sticking.
For sure.
And my mom was just kind of giving it to him.
Yeah.
Right? Like get your shit together.
For sure.
You know, they were helping him pay to go to school. So it's like, you're not just wasting your money, you're wasting our money. Yeah. So we went through once for power line technician. Didn't make it a semester, dropped out, went back to Niagara College, didn't like that, dropped out. And then he was in his third program. And finally I was like, you know what? Like, if you want to do a clothing brand, I'll kind of come in with you just so that you don't spend your OSAP money. And that's kind of what it was.
Really?
Like, through and through, it was like, I was supposed to be like a silent investor. Damn. And that is like how the whole brand started.
Wow, interesting.
So was that like kind of like at least his brainchild at some point, where he just like, hey, this sounds like something that I'd be after? And
yeah, he would just like, he always knew that school wasn't his thing.
Of course.
He couldn't go and sit in a class and get through something just for the sake of getting through it.
Yeah.
Just because the
Just you can
teacher
hang a
said,
piece of paper on
yeah,
the
that
wall
was
and-
not, that just
Yeah.
didn't fly.
So that just kind of like translates into like working too. Like he doesn't want to work for someone else. He wants like that, like make his own kind of thing, right? Interesting.
Yeah. So, that's kind of where it all started. And obviously things quickly changed because being a silent investor is very difficult to do once your money starts going.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. That's like Tom Brady and the Raiders right now. It's like I'm a part owner, but now I'm going to say everything.
Yeah. So it's, the dynamic shifted very quick.
Really,
like he was like, this is rebellious. And he had kind of been teasing some like mock-ups just on Instagram, like no actual material or anything, just like a mock-up of a design on a shirt. And he was showing them to me. And I was like, okay, like these are cool. Like this is something that I could get behind.
Absolutely.
I don't mind putting my name and my face and attaching it
And my wallet.
to this and my wallet to something like this, right? Because the first one he did was actually called Steak and Eggs.
Steak and Eggs.
Which I think there's a popular guy maybe down in the States that did chicken and rice.
Got it. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So he did.
I know Fish and the Rice Cake. That guy's a bit odd. But.
So I think there's a guy, and I think that's where that came from. So he made like an actual sweater of that I just couldn't really
I like Rebellious
get behind. Yeah. So when he came out with Rebellious, I was like, damn, okay, like this is, and he had a mock-up, and again, no material, no nothing, but I was like, this on the right shirt.
Yeah, that inspired idea.
This could be dangerous. This is right. So then it was like, well, where do we start? Like who's gonna be our crowd? And again, I'm 5 years older than him, so I'm 27 now, but I would think I was 20.
Dude, I'm a grandfather in this room, man.
I think I was 25 at the time, so he would have been 20. And
wow, good for him.
Yeah.
And
because he was still in school, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So we just like, it kind of started. I was like, okay, I can get behind this. What's going to be our niche?
Mm-hmm.
So I've always kind of been into the gym like these last like 5 years pretty seriously. Okay. So I was like,
why that's 5 years, dude? I'm doing something wrong. Well,
maybe we can get into that topic later.
I got your what's your fitness journey question? Yeah, some secrets. Yeah. Michael's secret stuff.
We just I was like, okay, let's just do bodybuilding.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, I grew up in the area, so I knew the people that went to Good Life, and I was like, maybe we can kind of get people.
That's your market, right?
Yeah.
It's just like these are the people that I know, the people know me. Like
for sure, let's start there, and then maybe see
where you can branch,
where it takes us, right?
For sure.
So our first one we did, I think we did the Niagara Falls Classic in 2023.
Okay.
Would have been like our first event.
Yep.
So we had this genius idea. Hey, let's get a bunch of shirts made. Nobody knows who we are.
Yep.
And we'll go down to the Niagara Falls Classic, and then we'll sell these shirts. Seemed like a flawless kind of.
Oh, buddy, that's foolproof.
I think that's the way to do it, honestly.
Bulletproof plan.
I think that's the way to do it, personally. Like, you just got to get your name out there somehow, right?
Right.
So,
at least that's the thought process. But how did it go?
Well, so we showed up. And we had everything in a duffel bag.
Awesome.
And it literally looked like a drug deal.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Just like stuffed as many shirts as we could in this duffel bag. Then we got there and we realized that like everybody who was legit had a booth.
Ooh.
So it was like,
we'll be over here at trash receptacle number 3.
So what we did was we just like kind of set up in a closed coat check.
Oh,
so you know how like the door like slides down and there's like a counter. So put the duffel bag on there.
Hilarious.
And
cut the
lock. And then like all the booths were like slightly down from where we were.
We're being rebellious over here though. We're not conforming to you guys.
It's actually a good take on it. Like, really.
But we didn't have a sign. We didn't have nothing to like get people to stop. So we went on the Instagram of the Niagara Falls Classic.
Oh boy.
And we just started, they were sharing like everybody who was competing, right? So it was like show day. So their story was like massive.
Yeah.
So we were just DMing people like, oh, hey, like come by our stuff, like hopping on people's Instagram profiles and like liking and engaging.
Grinding.
And being like, we're here. in a booth and like
we're here to coach check.
Yeah, we're here to coach check.
We kind of left that out to the end.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, sure, for sure, I'll stop by. Like, where can I
stop by your booth?
It's like, yeah, we're just at the we're at the coat check.
That's
we're booth
funny.
number coat check. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what we did for the first show, I guess you could say. We ended up taking a lot of inventory home with us,
that
but
happens.
we did like, I guess, gain more traction than I think we ever anticipated.
Well, I think even just putting that grind in too, right? We were reaching out to everybody on those pages and stuff. And I mean, again, like it's that it'd be that unknown at the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're kind of getting into the ear of those people that are like, oh, okay, this is interesting, right? It's something different, definitely something different than the norm, especially with the coat check thing. I mean, I would get behind that just because I'm like, you know what, that's kind of cool.
I think that's
man.
funny. Like, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
And I think honestly, people did relate to that because we weren't like this like super serious like booth where people were intimidated to approach a booth, because as we've learned later, and we can maybe get into this, like the more shows that we went to, it was almost the opposite effect.
Okay.
Where people were like scared to approach the booth because now we're standing behind a booth. So yeah, like I think people gravitated towards that because if they were on the shyer side, it didn't force them to approach a random table.
Fair enough.
They could just walk by the coat check and grab a shirt.
Like,
and
oh shit, look at that.
one thing that we always did is we took a picture with every single person
that's awesome.
that bought a shirt. So we like held it up or whatever they wanted to do. A lot of the times they were tan, so they didn't want to put it on right away.
Yeah.
And we would take a picture, and then at the end of the weekend, we would do like what we call the show day recap.
Oh, okay.
And we would post like, hey, we were at the Niagara Falls Classic this weekend.
That's cool.
And we would post every single photo with every single person, and we would tag them.
Yeah.
And people just like loved it. They started kind of gravitating towards that. And again, there was no brand established at that time.
No, of course. It's that huge personal connection too, right? Like I've been to the Arnold half a dozen times. It's the same thing. You walk up to like the Rain booth, and this thing is like 30 feet tall. There's 85 people in there, and they're just slinging stuff. There's no connection. There's no conversation. It's just, here we are.
Yeah.
I think people can relate to the hustle too. Like all these like bodybuilders and like, if they're on like TikTok, social media or everything, they had to build their own following as well. So like they can relate to like the hustle of like grinding it out. Like
you can kind of see that groundwork getting put in, like you guys are doing, where it's like we're not just this well-known brand at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're out of a coat check. We got a duffel bag full of clothes. Yeah. And we're reaching out to you to come over and have a look at this stuff so we can get our name out there.
For
so
sure.
I think it's a lot more relatable in that sense, which is awesome.
Yeah. With your message, kind of like what?
Well, with that whole again, like the shirts that I have between either like the prologue collection or the other stuff, where it's that, you know, training your mind to see the good in everything, and you know, you're not in this alone and things like that. Where did that come from? Because obviously, I mean, like with our podcast, we know where it came from with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you? Was that just like, I understand like that mental health and gym connection, or was that like some personal stuff? Or
So I'll just continue to be totally transparent about everything.
Of course.
I hope so.
Up until January of this year,
okay,
my brother did all the design work.
Okay.
So a lot of those designs came from him.
Awesome.
So the messages came from him. And again, like him and I just had very different paths, where I would say that I was pretty like I never really like struggled with any, I guess, mental health stuff to an extreme degree.
Sure.
Whereas I think my brother did.
Okay.
And where that kind of stems from is that our parents split when we were, I was 19.
Okay.
So he would have been 14.
That's still pretty fresh, all things considered.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I think like, obviously like looking back, you never want your parents to divorce, but like a lot of those messages I think would come from his experiences with that. Because for me, I was kind of more like, I was 19. So like, I wasn't like, it would still would have been nice to have my dad around for sure. But like my brother was still in those fundamental.
Yeah, you kind of still had that independence growing and stuff
years,
too,
right?
Yeah.
Like where I was in college. So like I was just like really, really busy, and I used college to kind of mask the whole everything that was going on. It was just like, that's going on over here.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to let that ruin my focus of college and everything. Whereas my brother being 14 at the time, he then would have went through whatever it was, like grade 10 or 11, 12. So like some of your fundamental years without like having a dad or a father figure in the household.
Yeah.
Well, even that broken family concept too, right? Where it said for that 14 years, I mean, I'm not sure what their relationship would have been like, but having that 2-parent household and somebody always home and things like that.
And then like I think in high school too, there's like that stigma of like, oh, your parents aren't together. Like, you know what I mean? Like high school kids are just brutal, right? So
Yeah, everyone's parents aren't together. Like, get over it type of deal, right?
I think we could say that now, but even when we talked about the last podcast where it's like, the stuff you wear, how you looked in high school was like the be all and the end all at that point. Looking back now, you're like, that is so stupid.
It doesn't mean shit now.
Who cares, man? Like, that's really awesome. You had all those cool clothes. Enjoy your job at McDonald's right now, man. I think that's what made us relate to the product so much too. One, that it's different. I know we're going to get into that with like the inspiration and stuff, but like that message was huge for me because again, it was something that I maybe did what you did initially, where I had a bunch of shit going on, but I tried to do literally anything else than acknowledge it because I didn't want it to affect my long term.
Okay.
And all it did was affect my long term. Because I said you have all this stuff going on top of it's like, at the time playing university football or then trying to get into law enforcement and going to school and doing all of those things. I felt like I had this crazy distraction. And then I kind of got to your point where it's like, hey, I achieved that. And now everything else just kind of seems secondary or seems so inferior because I worked so hard to get to this point. Now it's like, what the fuck do I do?
Right.
And again, you mask it and you distract yourself. And then eventually, again, if you get hit with that stuff over and over again, your dam breaks.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, it's kind of what started this whole thing. And again, we've talked about it before, why we resonate with the product is because it's open. It's like that where you're not hiding behind something. You're not trying to be something you're not. It's not like this, like, this cool design on a shirt. It's like, no, there's a message here.
Yeah.
And I think we both really like that. And regardless of which bristle it came from, it's still, it's both faces on the forefront. And I think, we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think like what you said, like the design of it too, like the design is there, and like if you're just walking by, like you see this cool design, but if you like take a dive like deeper into it, like you said, like the meaning and everything, you look at like the prologue shirt, I think it is, with like all the sayings on the back. Like if you read that like word for word, it like resonates.
And I've had people even on the flip side with the TikToks, where I'll post like that still workout or whatever when I'm doing the side raises, and all you see is the back of the shirt, and then people are going, man, where'd you get that shirt? I love that message. And it's like, as opposed to, again, your Dark Sports and your Gymsharks of the world, where it's like, yeah, that's a really cool Venom.
Right.
But there's nothing else to it. It's like, that's a cool looking shirt, but I like that extra meaning where it's like, you know what? Like, and even like you're saying with the prologue and then the archives and then the new drop that's coming out, there's, like I said, there's a bit more to it. And I think that's what a lot of people, again, and I had no idea that was going to be something that would explode like that. But I'm like, you know what? Like, no, we got some good points here. Like, that stuff was nice. So.
Yeah, if you mask it for long enough, right? Like, or eventually if you keep yourself distracted for as long as you can, and then all of a sudden that distraction's not there because like you said, you achieved your goals,
what
and life starts to just kind of settle again, and you don't have something that's keeping you busy from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. And then all of a sudden you're forced to maybe sit with your thoughts maybe a little bit longer, right? And you actually start to look back and process
and I think that's what ended up making, like, is in my case with that whole spiraling, is that you work so hard to get to, in my case, my career. And then you had so much stuff in that career that ended up being so negative. And like you're doing that self-reflection going, I worked my ass off to get here. And now why is this thing kicking my ass? And again, the stuff keeps piling up because you just backburner it and you backburner it again, and you try to create those distractions. And again, eventually you get to that point where you're sitting there one night and it's like, and then suddenly you're making a podcast on TikTok.
That was like the kicker for me too. Like when I was doing like my work or whatever, like it was just me kind of like dealing with it on my own. Like I didn't really have like any like further responsibilities. Like I was single, so I would just like go to work, come home, just do my thing, whatever. And I think like the thing that like really kicked me was because like I was dealing with like whatever I dealt with at work, and just holding it in, not talking to anyone, because I don't want to bring it home. Like I don't want to tell my parents what happened. I don't want to. I think like what flipped the switch in me to like realize there was change was like my mom. She was like, "You're not the same person that you were like a couple years ago or whatever." She's like, "You got to talk to someone, or like you got to like really think about like what's going on in your life, right? And like think about everything." And then when I sat down and really thought about everything, I was like, I'm not okay.
Wow.
I was like, there's like nothing.
And so much of it does come from self-reflection, but we mentioned that too, where it's like, it's the people outside of you that are going to notice that first. Whether it's your significant other or your family or otherwise, like you might be able to internalize things, but every once in a while, shit's going to start slipping out. And you're going to go, I said, we mentioned that too with like my mom going, like, what happened to Ty?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't fucking know, Mom. What do you mean? Like, what's, am I really making it this obvious?
Right. And your parents are going to be obviously going to be able to pick up on that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think like with friends, like Ty, if like we were friends back then, like if you would have told me like you're not the same, I'd be like, yeah, okay, like whatever. Right? But as soon as your parents start noticing it, then it's like, okay, like
we got a problem here, right?
So, you were still living at home at that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, see, I wasn't. I was like just post-divorce, which is a whole other animal. and again, it's like fresh in my career where it's like, again, you work so hard for this. So it's like, yep, I got this. Now I'm going to start building a family. And then that just disintegrates. And unfortunately, it was because of the job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was tough because it's, again, you work so hard for stuff. And now everything that you wanted or that you had in mind is starting to crumble.
Yeah.
And again, I guess it comes back to that topic yesterday with that progress over perfection, where it's like, well, I still got here. Just because that my end goal doesn't look like I thought it was going to, doesn't mean that I can't branch out or do some or keep chipping away at it, because then again, it's not the end.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's the big point too, right? So well, we'll circle back to, because I know you talked about like the fitness stuff and like, hey, we're going to talk about this stuff later. So yeah, let's hear about your fitness journey. What got you into this? Why this? Why this? Above anything else? Why? Yeah,
but just like fitness in general.
Yeah, fitness in general. Yeah. Like what made you start that? You know, where you're at now. Like
what made you like start working out like seriously per se?
Seriously, I would say I was probably like 23, 24 at the time. So all throughout high school, I kind of worked out, but I didn't really take it like super seriously. Yep. As the years went on, obviously, I did, and I think it just developed, right? So it's like, you get in the gym consistently and you're like, okay, this is great. I get in the gym Monday to Friday. Yep. And then you can get in the gym Monday to Saturday, Monday to Sunday. And now that consistency, you're going all the time. Okay, so now let's add in the meal prep.
Yep.
Right. So then you add in the meal prep and you can do that for a while. Right. And I kind of did that all throughout high school. And the main reason was because I was bullied in grade 9.
Oh.
I would not take the bus in grade 9. There was no way. You couldn't pay me.
Now we're talking.
yeah,
now we're getting into it.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me to take the bus.
Really?
So my mom drove me every single day. In grade 9. So I live I grew up north end St. Catharines. Yep. So the bus would go and pick up all of the Niagara-on-the-Lake kids.
Yep.
And then pick up me. And then cross the bridge, and then Holy Cross is right on the other side. So I did the very first day or first week of grade 9, I got on the bus and it was full, like packed, 2-3 people sitting to a seat.
Jeez.
I didn't know anybody that was on the bus. So like I get on the bus and it's like overwhelming. Like you're looking down the bus and it's like it's flooded both sides.
Like where do I sit kind of thing.
So you just kind of just like, instead of like not moving at all, you just kind of start walking, and the next thing you know, you've walked way further than where a grade 9 should have walked. Right? So that's kind of where it started. And it was like instantly, like from that day forward, like they were on me about where I sat.
Wow.
So it was just like a bus thing at the beginning. And then it translated into school. So then like every high school has that area where like all the kids like hang out in the morning before class. Mm-hmm. And my locker happened to be like right there.
Of course it was.
Yeah. So
it's a kid from the bus.
Yeah. So now I was not going on the bus, but I was still seeing these guys, right? So I think honestly, like looking back, that's kind of what sparked it. Obviously, I didn't get huge in grade 9 or grade 10 by any means, but I think I just knew that I wanted to get bigger.
Yeah.
So that maybe I would stop getting picked on.
And it kind of goes hand in hand with like getting bigger and then obviously building some confidence in yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Where you're not this, again, I mean, not that I was ever a skinny kid, I was a fat kid. So it's just like, I mean, I still had that too. So
I think I relate to that too. Like I got bullied in high school, like all throughout high school too, because I was like the fat kid. Like, I mean,
which is ridiculous.
Which is crazy.
You were the fat kid.
Yeah. But I was like,
he told me that. I thought he was full of it.
I was 6'3", like 235, but like you couldn't tell I was like chubby because it was like stretched.
I'm currently 6'3", 230.
But like, you know, like the hockey kids, they're all like skinny, but they all have like abs.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like natural like abs. It's like, so like I got bullied for being like the fat kid. Mm-hmm. So like that took a toll on me, and then from like the first episode, I like just started getting into it more and more, and then started taking it more seriously. Yeah. So I can kind of relate to you in that sense. It's just like kids are brutal.
Mm-hmm. Kids are brutal. They're absolutely horrible. And even in my case, it was like completely different. I mean, I guess I played a lot of sports in high school too, so I definitely wasn't a bully, but I wasn't bullied. Okay. You might pick on me. I had like gel in my hair all through high school, so that might have been the one thing you could pick on me for. Yeah. Everything else was fine.
Well, that was the same thing. Sorry to cut you
off. No, it's
but,
okay.
Like the sports I played, so I'm like big into soccer. Like my dad, huge into soccer, comes from like Holland, like straight off the boat.
Okay.
And like so, like my whole life was soccer. Like my parents couldn't afford to put me in hockey, which like whatever, I don't care. I love the sport. And when I got to high school, it was considered like gay, I guess, to play soccer or like whatever, and just like
wasn't a cool sport.
Yeah, so like all these kids are playing hockey that I hung out with, and I'm like the weird kid who plays soccer. So like that's another more ammo for them. And
of course,
like,
right?
It's just like so ruthless how like kids can be like based on like what you do. And I think like it's hard because like then you want to like impress everyone and just like be like friends with everyone, but like at the end of the day, who cares? And I think like now that we're older, we realize it too. Like no one cares what you do. Just like live your life and like have a good time.
And I think that's applicable to a lot of things too, right? Where in that moment it might seem like the worst thing in the world, or like this is the be all and end all. And then as you move on, it's like no one's gonna remember what you wore to prom. No one's gonna remember that time that you tripped in the hallway. Like nobody cares. But in that moment, I understand why that's so overwhelming.
Did you ever get sorry?
No, go ahead. No.
Did you ever get like chirped or made fun of, I guess, for starting a clothing brand? Like, because you know, like there's people who like hate on everyone's dreams, right?
For sure. And it's funny that you asked, because my girlfriend and I were just like chatting about this, and actually the owner of the studio that we just had, there was a couple hours at the end of Saturday there where him and I were just taking all the photos onto the Mac. So I was just kind of picking his brain about starting a business and stuff too. And we both said the exact same thing. And it's funny because I think everybody, no matter what kind of business you go into, will have a similar kind of story of some sort where people go, oh, you still doing that thing? Right? Whether it's clothing, whether it's supplements, anything, whether it's for Wes, the owner of the studio, it was him starting the studio and hey, this is what I want to do. This is my space, my vision. But yeah, all the time people would say, oh, you still doing that thing? Or how's that thing going?
I like how they call it that thing, eh?
Yeah. And it was almost like they're just waiting for it to, for you to say, oh, like it fizzled out so that they could go, oh, like I told you so.
Yeah. Everybody wants that self-gratification. Like, I knew this, right?
Yeah. And it was like, oh, I knew that went last or whatever. And oddly enough, like I've noticed that a lot more of that stuff came from like close friends and family.
Really? See?
Yeah. Not like randoms on the internet that are like hating on you, being like, oh, you don't know what you're doing type of stuff. Like I would say the internet was a more accepting place than like our inner circle.
Yeah, which again, like I said, even in our case, it's like, you can block out the randoms where it's like, oh man, this is boring. Oh, it's a snooze fest. Like, okay, man, cool, good for you. But the second, like, I couldn't imagine like the close friends doing that.
Well, it's because it's an opinion that you value.
Of course.
Right? Like you said, you can block out those people on social media who have no idea who you are.
Yeah, somebody from Kentucky. They
don't know. They're chirping you from a bot account. And it's like, okay, so you won't even put your face on there, but you'll come on here and you'll chirp somebody else. So like all that stuff you can brush away. But when it's like friends and family, and again, I don't want to make it seem like it was like everybody, because it wasn't.
Of course.
But there's definitely like certain individuals that were like, oh, like you're still doing that thing. Or they would like, in the beginning, our motto that we had in our Instagram bio was reject normality, be rebellious. And so like we'd go to family gatherings and people would be like hashtag rebellious and like, but again, like I wouldn't change it for the world.
No, of course.
I wouldn't change it for the world, because that goes into like a totally different fuel bank than all the good stuff does, right?
Course.
So we get a lot of that good stuff now, but the good stuff only takes you so far,
of course,
right? Because it's easy to get complacent with the good stuff, because you finally start getting the compliments and people are like, oh, you're still doing that, that's sweet, like good for you, look how much the brand has grown. And it's like, okay, well maybe I will take my foot off the gas a little bit.
You put it on autopilot for a bit.
It's easy to do that, right? And then you remember all these other people who said, oh, you're still doing that, or that's not going to go anywhere. And then
watch this.
So that's like the bank where you need to draw from when it's like late at night and you don't want to do something. You don't want to answer a DM. You don't want to package up an order. Like that's the bank that I go to when I'm.
That's a really good way to look at it too, right? I mean, I guess even in our case, right, where it's like, we have had a lot of positive feedback and even like, and maybe it's not like not the close personal friends thing, but there is definitely stuff that you can hold on to on those days where, again, either you're not feeling it, or like the positivity stuff is good, but I think that negative fuel has got to be so much more, so much more satisfying when shit works out. Because it's like it's really great that mom and dad said this was cool, but I don't even know who you are, but
But even on our first podcast, there was like a couple comments being like, these are the two most boring like people we've like listened to, and like they said like, hopefully this is the last episode, boys. And like we looked at that, we're like,
so episode 2. A question about that though, like did you ever look and see like who was commenting.
The one of them I laughed at because these happened kind of like late at night when I checked. I think you went to bed or something like that. And I'm a night owl.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember seeing one, and it was something along those lines where it's like, oh, fuck, first and only episode, hopefully, boys. Okay. And I click on it, and the comment got made 8 minutes ago, and this guy's account got made 9 minutes ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so
and it was one of those like, okay, I'm like, is it somebody that we know that's being a little ridiculous here?
Or, guys?
Yeah, and that's what it was. And even like, I think we had one other comment, and the other comments obviously were super positive, and we liked them. And I even commented on those other ones where it's like, oh, this was so boring. Oh, like, who knew like a podcast for an hour could be this boring? I'm like, thanks for watching, though.
But it's not somebody that's like doing another podcast.
No. And when you look on the profile, it's no videos, no subscribers, no nothing. It's just like some random.
Yeah.
And again, I understand if it's going to be like some competing brand, right? Where it's like somebody comes in on your page with like a, you know, that has another company and then makes some BS account going, oh man, this stuff sucks. This sucks. Whatever the case is, just trying to knock you down a peg. And I mean, this stuff was just random.
Yeah.
And I think we're not like doing it for like, we're not doing it to get likes. We're not doing it to get like followers. We're doing it to like just connect with one person that needs to like hear something, you know? And like that could be the deciding factor whether that person carries on with their life or not, you know?
Right.
And that's like why I was always hesitant to start like TikTok and like recording myself in the gym too, because of like the same thing. I was worried about like what people would think, like people, because it's like off the beaten path, right? And like, and then when we started talking, you're like, just do it. Like, who cares? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like,
at the end of the day, like I said, start doing it for you, right? I mean, I'm sure even when you and your brother kind of like kicked this stuff off, I'm sure you had probably a lot of that like, really another apparel company, another bodybuilding apparel company, because there's 10 trillion of them, and they're all copying other people. That's kind of like what you guys didn't.
And it's very, like you said, it's very saturated, very diluted, right? So people always say that as well. But like what I've started to do now is I try and take a step back and really analyze who it's coming from. So if it is coming from like friends and family, it's like, okay, but why would I ever listen to what you're saying when you've never done what I'm trying to do?
Of course.
And for me, that was like the biggest mindset shift, is like when I started looking at these people and I was like, okay, like I do respect this person's opinion because they're a friend or they're a family, but then take it one step further and it's like, but I respect your opinion because you're a friend and a family, but not because you've done what I want to do. And you had success in it and you're telling me that I don't have what it takes. So as soon as that light went off, and I was like, yeah, you're saying that, but it's like, not only have you not done a clothing brand, you've never done any brand. And then I started putting myself in other people's shoes and being like, are they just like projecting their own like insecurities
and stuff
onto me? Are they not happy in their life, so they just feel the need to vocalize that to try and bring somebody else down with them, right? And I think once I was able to do that, it's like there's literally nothing now that somebody could say that would bother me. Obviously, like you said, it's very different if there's like a bigger brand or somebody that you're trying to
compete with
or learn from, or like you're trying to follow in their footsteps, and somebody directly related to that says, hey man, you don't have what it takes, or you're doing this or that wrong. But like what I've realized is all the people ahead of you on the ladder, those are the people that want to bring you up and see you win.
Of course.
Right? Like who you would think would be your competitors.
It's almost contradictory, right?
It is. It is. It's these people that are ahead that also want to turn down and give somebody else a hand and help them,
of course,
come up the ladder too, right? So
because they know exactly where like they started from too, right?
Right.
So that rung you're standing on, they've been on before.
They've been on it, and they can relate. They know the trials and tribulations and everything that you're going through, because they went through. And oftentimes, like you can just reach out to them. Like I'll give you guys a perfect example.
I was just going to ask, I mean, have you had a brand that you've conversed with or kind of like model with?
Yeah, more so just like individual entrepreneurs.
Perfect. Okay,
I guess you could say. So not specifically clothing, but some people who are in the similar space doing something different. And it's crazy how all these things kind of align. So this story is kind of cool. So my girlfriend Sid, she's a Believe athlete.
Oh yeah.
Very recently. And she was going to some Believe events. So they opened a Supplement World in Oakville.
Oh, nice.
And she's like a pretty local Believe athlete. So they asked her if she wanted to come for the grand opening and run the booth.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like, okay, like, yeah, for sure. And you know how some girls don't like to drive. So I was like, sure, honey, I'll drive. And the plan was never to attend the event. It was just, I found like a local Starbucks, brought my laptop.
You're the taxi.
That's it. Literally just
You're the Uber.
Just the driver. and so sure enough, I drop her off and she's in there, and there's a whole bunch of different, there's like Believe is in there, Elevate's in there. There's a whole bunch of like Aaron Banks and all these like, Ian Valier was
like Ian.
in there.
I like Ian.
So Sid's texting me and she's like, you got to come over and just hang out in here. And she goes,
pick some brains.
And Sid's also an athlete for us. Yes. So she's like plugging away every now and then when she can.
Standing there going like, hey, just while we're having this conversation.
She had to wear Believe, unfortunately, on that day.
On the back of my phone, though.
Yes, So anyways, I ended up packing up my stuff and I was like, and I truthfully at the time I didn't want to because I was working on something over at the Starbucks, but I was like, you know what, I'll go over there. And I met a guy from Saskatchewan who was down helping open this supplement world because he owns a franchise out in Saskatchewan of supplements. So him and I kind of just hit it off or whatever. And I think it's because he's a power line technician for Saskatchewan Hydro, and I work for a power company here.
Figured.
So we kind of hit it off about that. He was a massive dude, so we were talking about bodybuilding. And then honestly, I think he just DM'd me, or I DM'd him afterwards, just being like, hey man, it was great meeting you, yada, yada, yada. And he was like, yeah, man, if you ever have any questions or issues about anything, just give me a call, or this, that, and the rest of it.
Amazing. And hope you're sitting down. Here they come.
Right? So, and at the time I had nothing for him, but I was actually just on the phone with him like last Monday night until like 11 p.m. So there's a time difference. So he took my call at the end of his day. I think he said he was working like 10s or 12s. He took my call 9 p.m. Saskatchewan time. It was 11 p.m. our time. And it was just like, hey man, here's the situation that I'm dealing with. Like, how would you deal with it? It was an interpersonal relationship with people that are involved with the brand now. So again, not directly related to clothing, but what business doesn't have interpersonal problems? Right? Especially the more people that you take on in some capacity,
the more opportunity you have for that.
Eventually there's going to be somebody that has a problem with you, has another problem with somebody else who's an athlete. The list goes on and on. Like,
some people's names are just spinning.
All totally things that you would never even consider when you start a brand. Is like all these other little things that come along with the brand, which again I think is very cool. But like,
we are super low maintenance.
You guys are a dream. You guys are a dream for sure.
Tell us what you want us to do.
Like, you think that it's like this simple thing of like, I want to do clothing. And then you're like, okay, so how do I grow this? I bring people in that are going to help me grow. And then eventually you bring on enough people and people think favoritism starts to happen, and maybe it does. And when you're in the go, just worried about the next post, the next drop, sometimes when I step back, I'd be like, oh, I could see how that person thought that was that. But at the time,
in that moment, you had that direction, and it's like,
I was just going. I was just going, right? So back to the original question, it was like, Reese, his name is, out in Saskatchewan. Like, we'll just chat about different business things in general. You think I should do this? You think I should do that? Good. But a lot of interpersonal stuff, because again, owning a franchise, he has employees. So you can only imagine what kind of...
it's that stuff that you don't think about, right? Again, you're trying to build your brand. You're trying to get that brand go a certain direction. I mean, that's your focus. And again, obviously, the more you grow, more people you bring in. You do have those little, ideas clash, or again, I guess the favoritism stuff. And like, I'm sure, I guess even in your case with like Sid being an athlete with you guys, I'm sure there's probably some opinions which has got to be frustrating.
You gotta walk a fine line. And one thing that I've really tried to do, and this is like a goal for me for 2025, is to not have any emotional responses. Because there are times when I'm like tired and like literally, like you said, just trying to figure out the next Instagram post, the next drop, answer this DM, figure out where that person's package went. And you get a message from somebody on the team, or you get a comment from somebody, or an unhappy customer. And sometimes your first instinct can be ding ding, just to drop. But you really got to step back and be like, okay, anything that gets said from here on out represents the business,
and it gonna stick,
right? So it's like, for me, my goal for 2025 is, if something really bothers me, I won't answer it right away and I'll sleep on it and I'll address it the next day or whatever when you've had, or I'll call Reese and be like, hey, this is what happened. This is what I wanted to say. And he's like, that's great that you didn't say that.
I'm really glad you whipped your phone down the street.
I've even had it now where like a good friend of mine, her name's Britt Turnbull. Her and I went to high school together.
Hey, she shared that she watched the podcast.
Thank you. Instantly. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So she's kind of always been, her and I have been really good friends. So she's kind of always been a part of our journey, I guess you could say. But when my brother stepped away from the brand, she filled a massive gap. And I think she probably, her and I have never talked about this. So if she watches this, it'll be cool to see her take.
When she watches this.
But I think maybe it was like the fact that it was me and my brother and she didn't want to overstep. She kind of
which makes sense.
Held things back. So when my brother stepped away and she saw that it was just me, she felt more comfortable approaching me about things and saying, hey, I'm noticing like an outside perspective. So back to the point that I was trying to bring this all to is that she,
see what I mean with the podcast?
She has, she'll text me and be like, be careful how you respond to that. Like, so she has the Instagram login. So she's getting all the DMs and she'll shoot me a quick text like ASAP being like, careful how you answer that or whatever, right?
Go outside, take a breath.
So before I even get on there now, it's really nice to know that like, okay, something's coming.
Yeah, you have that check, right?
But I have that check, not to, because...
Say what I'm thinking in this exact moment.
Yeah, and it's not like I want to jump down somebody's throat because I'm an angry and aggressive person, but for me, I had to switch my mindset. The mindset was like, oh my God, you don't see everything that I'm trying to do in the background. And then as soon as I make a mistake, you're jumping down my throat.
Sure.
And you also don't want to get like stepped on either in that sense too, right? Like,
right.
You don't want to be like too nice where it's like, oh, like here you go, here's this for your inconvenience. But you also don't want to be like too aggressive and be like, look, motherfucker.
For sure. And
one quick screenshot, it all goes away, right?
So yeah, it's like you said, you don't want to be that brand or that person that like gives in to getting walked all over, because I think that is a big problem in today's society.
For sure.
Is that people take advantage of brands, and we live in this cancel culture where it's like, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to hop on social media and I'm going to
tear you down.
Oh, I'm going to torch you.
Yep.
And it's easy just to make like new accounts and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like it takes like 2 seconds and your whole thing's
They can rattle off, 8 different comments in an hour because they got nothing better to do.
That's it. But photo evidence and like proof of your DMs is something that they'll never be able to take away. So even if you have somebody who's unhappy, the way that you address it, again, like you said, not getting walked all over, but just own it. Just own it. Just be like, honestly, you're totally right. This delay is unacceptable. I meant to get back to your message. And that was like the biggest mindset shift for me, was like, okay, don't try and justify to this person why I didn't do whatever it was, why I didn't get back to their DM, why I didn't look into their package, whatever the case may be, and try and justify why I'm so busy, because the truth is they don't care.
No,
right?
Of course.
And it's not their problem. At the end of the day, it's not their problem. They've purchased a product and they expect a product and a service from start to finish, and it's our job, my job, to make sure that is seen through, right?
Absolutely.
So what I do is I just try and own it now. I just be like, hey, this is what was going on, and I'll just be like totally transparent, like, which maybe is weird coming from business account, like, sorry, I had a long day at work, and they're like, what?
Of course, right?
So I always lead with, hey, this is Quinn, the owner of Rebellious. I just wanted to let you know that I had a long day at work, or we had an event this weekend, and that's why I didn't get back to you. And you're totally right. Let me look into that.
And it develops that personal connection, like you're talking about with the Niagara Falls Classic, where it's like you're taking those pictures with people and having those associations. It kind of goes, it ties back into that. Yeah, we're a business. We're also we're people.
That's it.
And I think people resonate with that too. Like even ordering from you for the first time, for example, like the handwritten note, for example, and like
sweet.
So cute. But then like delivering it like right to door, like local delivery, like that kind of thing for me, for example, is like huge. And like that's also like why I wanted to like be a part of it and like get like closer to this brand too. It's like I saw that instantly, and like you were hyping it up like so much too. always liked your guys' stuff.
I'm a great plug.
Literally from the time we brought you on, you're a great plug.
Yeah, you have been.
And then like, yeah, when you did that delivery when Ty was over, I was just like, holy, like this is bigger than just like a business to you. Like this is like, and I like voiced that to you too. I'm like, that actually means like a lot, like because you like build that connection. And then like I told people too, and I'm like, go buy like whatever, like hand delivery, like local delivery, and like handwritten notes and stuff. And I'm like,
Well, even that super approachable stuff too, where we can reach out to you on Instagram, and it's like, I'll get back to you. It might take me a minute, but like it's not going to be this automated reply.
Right.
And I think that's why it's so easy to get attached to a brand like that, because a lot of the brands aren't like that. You get that auto-generated message, you're never going to hear back. You know, you try if you have a shipping delay, you're never going to hear back. It's like, oh, it's coming, don't worry.
Right.
You know, you kind of get that personal connection. I think that's huge in a business, especially a local business. Right?
Like you order from Dark Sport, and there's just like package on your door.
Yeah, it's like here it is. It might, we're not sure when it's going to get there, but it'll get there, right?
So that's the thing, though. Is that like that's what I want everybody to know, and I want like especially you guys to realize is that like hearing the feedback like that from you guys is ultimately what keeps us going though too.
For sure.
So
we've had that conversation.
It's a huge two-way street. Like even the DM of you afterwards, like following up, like saying thank you, and like that's the stuff that like after a long day of like maybe some frustration, some missing packages, it's like, okay, like this is worth it.
Yeah, that's the DM he's going to respond to right now.
Yeah, those are the ones that are like, okay, you know what? Like this is
doing something right.
This is doing like we're onto something here. Yeah. I'm willing to take on another day and carry this because honestly, the honest truth is that there's days where it's like we're not making any money. Yeah. Like we're generating sales, which is amazing, but I'm not making any money.
Yeah.
Like there's no way I'd ever be able to quit my job. We're nowhere near yet. But that's the other thing, right? Is that like it's now kind of evolved to a 24-hour a day kind of operation. Like outside of my regular job, it literally consumes my
you're 9 to 5, then you're 5 to 9.
It consumes Sid's life. It consumes Britt's life. Like we're always talking about it now, and we're not making any money. So there's been so many times where I was like, honestly, like I could just work my job. I work 7 to 3:30. I have a beautiful shift time Monday to Friday, and then just enjoy the evenings. Right? Like just enjoy the evenings, go to the gym, come back.
I just don't think you have that switch in you, right?
I don't know if I could go back there now.
I
think it would drive me nuts if I had to go back. But again, I had that thought when
sobering
moment. When my brother stepped away. And what was initially his dream, I guess you could say. I was like, what am I doing? And I had a lot of internal questions and questions about like the brand identity and like you guys asked me earlier about the messages behind the shirt. I was like, fuck, that was him.
Of course.
Like I was helping push that, but like that's not that didn't come from me per se. Like, I could get behind it, but it wasn't me. So when he stepped away, I was like,
now what?
Like, am I going to lose this brand identity? But it had evolved. It's evolved to a lot more away from, for me, it's evolved a lot more away from the messages just on the shirt then too. Like, and I think like this weekend for me was like that solidifying moment. We had that big media day.
Big shoot,
And just for perspective, our first media day we did in January, I want to say middle of January. And we did a 2-hour studio time with 5 girls.
Oh, you had a lot more than that.
And it was, mind you, at the time it was me and my brother and both of our girlfriends. So they don't count. So 3 or 4 like actual outside girls modeling. To this Saturday we did. It was like almost a 7-hour shoot. I was there from 10 to 5 or 10 to 7.
Wow.
And we had 20 plus girls come through.
And I'm sure a lot more people had even reached out too, right? But you kind of got to like, okay, well,
we filtered them through. Again, that was all Britt. Britt did like a questionnaire.
That's awesome.
And we took everybody in.
We were going to comment for fun. So.
You should have. Some guys
put me in a pair of shorts.
Some guys did.
That'd be so funny.
So for me, like this weekend for me was like my first weekend like doing this on my own, I guess you could say. And it was like, okay, like this, not that we're ever going to get away from the messages behind the prologue shirt and stuff, but it's like, this is my identity of the brand. And for me, it's more of just an inclusivity type.
Huge, which is still huge.
Yeah,
and
massive.
the DMs that we were getting from like these girls who would honestly probably never feel comfortable maybe going to anything bigger or never even getting invited to something like that in the first place, and bringing together all these people who never would have met if it weren't for the brand.
Which is awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
And for me, that was like, okay, like this is what me and my brother did for as Rebellious, but like this is me now.
That's incredible.
Of course.
And like we did like a champagne toast, and like I was standing up at the front of the room, and it was like honestly like the surreal
speechless
moment. Like I had all these girls standing in front of me and 2 photographers, and it was like, okay, like I want to carry I want to carry on,
that good
right?
fuel, right?
Yeah, I want to that fuel that I needed, that like kind of lit that.
Yeah.
It's not like you're like I made it moment, but it's you're like I'm on the right track moment almost.
Yeah,
for sure.
We're picking up steam here. I guess that kind of goes into our next question, is that direction that we're heading now.
Yeah.
I know obviously your grassroots area with your brother and his message and stuff, but where is Rebellious heading now?
Yeah, it's been a big conversation, a big topic this week.
Good.
Leaking some stuff now.
Yeah, we can get into it. I would be lying if I didn't say to Britt and to Sid that I would love to just go down the female route and do only.
Well, you and I had that same discussion too, right?
Yeah, for the same reasons we talked about. Yep. Girls won't wear the same stuff to the gym throughout the week. Our following is 80 to 90% female. Our clientele, the girls that are making purchases, it's mainly girls. But at the same time, it's like we've met so many great people along the way, not just females. Like if there was no Rebellious, I wouldn't be sitting here with you guys.
I'm sure we still could have bumped into each other.
Could have bumped into each other or whatever. But like I've met so many great guys along the way too, that I won't ever stop doing. Pump covers, tees, sweaters.
I'll wear it.
Yeah.
I'll wear it.
Yeah, so there always will be a mix of the co-ed stuff for sure. Like the sweaters and the pumps were all mainly geared towards the guys. We just live in that era now where the girls wear the guys stuff. So yeah, the future of the brand, we will definitely have more guy stuff.
But I can see that leaning more into the female aspect.
For sure. For sure. And that's what's going to fuel the other stuff, because that's where our profit's made. And truthfully, we can get into this conversation too, is that like the girls' material and apparel is where the brand is making its money. Versus those pump covers and the hoodies and stuff, like we might be making $5 off of those, $10 off of those. Yeah. So those are like what I call like brand awareness items.
We're going to put this on some 230-pound gorilla and wear it around.
That's it. And it doesn't, I don't go in debt, or the business doesn't go in debt providing it, but it doesn't, like if I were to just do that in 5 years, there would be no
you're not Scrooge McDuck in it,
because there'd be no scale. There's no way to scale. Versus the girl stuff, that's where all of our profits are made.
I can kind of see that too, because like the quality of your stuff's like good. Like it's not like this cheap like Gildan or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like it's good stuff. So like if you're only making like $5-10 on it or whatever, like I can see where like you're only making that much off it, but you're producing like quality stuff, so it's like worth it almost in a sense. And like I think people like resonate with that too. Like they see like this is good quality. They're not gonna wash it once and it's just gonna like shrink up, right?
We've been there. So that is kind of the direction. So this drop that's coming up on April 4th will have leggings in 3 colors.
There you go.
Perfect.
Yeah, the quads for it. We'll do a reel, and if it gets more than 10K views, we'll model it. That's what I was saying to the girls at the photo shoot on Saturday, that the guys will model it. If we post a reel, we'll throw the leggings on. But we got
it up on my TikTok tomorrow.
Promote the house.
That'll get some traction real quick.
That'll get some traction. So we'll have the leggings in.
Stay tuned.
We'll have the leggings in gray, lavender, and punch. Lavender. And then that's your color, right?
Goes with my eyes. I'm an army green girly. But.
And then a sports bra in cloud white and fuchsia.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we'll have shorts in steel and chocolate.
Okay.
And then
we're not going gray and brown here. We're getting
nitty gritty. We're getting nitty gritty. Yeah. And then actually just today, Britt and I were working on like a simplistic hoodie that we want to have available at all times.
Okay. Oh, I was going to say that's a good thing.
So it'll be like kind of the one I showed you when you came over, but it won't have the archives on the back.
Okay.
It's just going to have the RA.
Like similar to the Prologue shirt, which is the RA.
Just
there,
the RA. It'll be a little bit smaller than the Prologue too. But yeah, we're just going to do an RA hoodie.
Like that.
So that'll
there
be.
You go. That's my thing.
You've been asking for it.
Yeah. I'm a hoodie guy. So.
Yeah. I'm waiting for an RA ball cap.
Yeah. Well, see, we've had hats too at one point. But yeah, so we're going to do a hoodie in black and in lavender.
Nice.
Okay.
And those will be available
all the time.
Which, so we can have that reoccurring revenue, I guess you could say. Because part of it too is finding that balance. Like, I just love talking about this. So fuck, I'll just ramble.
Keep going.
I'll ramble. So the reason why the profit margins on the shirts and the pump covers aren't as high as the girl stuff is because that all comes from a print on demand service.
Okay.
So that's how I can stock things on the website at all times because we work with a print on demand company that doesn't have a minimum order quantity.
Got it. Okay.
So they get you on the convenience.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? Like I could order those shirts are from Shackaware, which is like my all-time favorite one of my all-time favorite clothing provider for blanks.
Okay.
I know that I can get those shirts from the Shackaware website at a crazy discounted deal, especially if you have a business with a business number.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're dirt cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
The problem is you have a lot of middlemen after that. If you don't do the printing and all of that kind of stuff yourself, that it compounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
It compounds, right? And these were all mistakes that I made during our first year in business. Watch yourself.
Man, gotta get stiff.
Holy cow.
Yeah, our first year in business, like we tried to do as much as we could here in Canada and with local businesses. And
of course,
the reality is that the profit margins just
aren't
there.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would order the blanks, ship them to a guy in Cambridge, and he would do the print on them and then ship them back. So now I've paid shipping to come to me. I've shipped it to Cambridge.
The print,
He's done it and then he shipped it back.
Jeez, yeah.
So we're into 3 shipping costs.
Yeah.
Whatever he's charging me to put the print on the back. So it was a toss-up because the profit margins weren't there, but I could get things quick.
Yeah.
And when we were doing those shows, the bodybuilding shows, going to a show every month, I didn't have time to wait for it to come from a supplier from overseas.
For sure.
It comes, the design's not how we want it, tweak this. There was no time for that.
No.
So that's why, the print on demand is a really good way of always having stuff in stock. But unfortunately, they know that they've got
you by the short and curlies, right? Where it's
right,
like,
which is
now cool,
totally fine for me, especially when it comes to the guy stuff, because even the guy stuff from overseas or all these different manufacturers, they have no idea how big human beings here are.
Nope.
It's true.
So they would send their 3XL, 4XL, 5XL, and I'm like, it's not big enough.
No.
I need bigger. And they're like, well, what do you mean I need bigger? And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I need bigger.
Yeah.
And then they were getting into custom stuff and it was taking so long.
Yeah.
So it was just easier to find an American or Canadian blank company and do it through them because I could trust that a 3XL was going to be a 3XL, a 4XL was going to be a 4XL.
Yep.
Smart.
Very smart. I appreciate that.
For our big guys, right?
I just have long gangly arms, so call me big guy.
Sitting here with my large and
You're in the 3XL, aren't you?
Yes.
The 3XL.
Yeah, it's an ego thing.
It's an ego thing, but it looks. You fill it out.
I do.
So
in the right places, though.
In the right places. So we needed those products that we could have around the clock, right?
Of course, yeah.
So that's kind of why, though, like we'll always be able to have these hoodies that are coming out because there'll be a print on demand.
Well, I like that moving forward too. When you're doing like this, the drop on April 4th, where it's like, hey, we still have stuff, but then we can, overlap with drops
for sure,
which is nice, right?
Do you plan on sticking to that like drop concept then?
that was another conversation that we had this week because again the drop idea was my brother's idea, and don't get me wrong, it works. The whole first year we never did a drop concept.
Okay.
because truthfully, we just needed the money.
We're waiting for this. Come on.
Like if you have all this hype around one day, and then it doesn't go according to plan,
roll.
It's like you the anticipation's like this. You're on a roller coaster, and then you come down and you don't get out of that divot. It's like, now what do we do?
100%.
So for the first year, my brother and I, we just like, as things came into stock, we would roll them out because whether it was a $50 sale or a $25 sale, every trickling money that came in was like, we need it. We need it.
Yep.
As the business grew, we could gauge the potential that things were going to have. So this year, my brother was like, let's try the drop concept. So we tried that on January 31st, I think it went live. And at this point, we had 30 plus ambassadors in a group chat. We had a team of athletes. So it was the time to try something like that, because we would get the product in, we would disperse it to our athletes. They would have a week or two to help build up some hype, and then we would drop. So it went really well. We did like $550 in sales in the first 35 minutes.
Holy shit.
And we did 3,000 in sales in 20 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So I booked the day off work.
Yes, you did.
Sid and I went up to the cottage for the drop.
Yeah.
Because you always have kinks on the website where like your checkout button doesn't work, or like something tarp's not working. Something, a code's not working. There's all these little things, and we used to release things when I was at work, and then it was like a mad scramble, and like I was at work, so I was like to my brother, "Can you try and fix this?" It was just stressful.
Sure.
So I took the day off work. Sid and I went to the cottage on the Thursday night. We did the drop on that Friday morning, and I was like, honestly, like a kid on Christmas morning.
Oh yeah.
Like that Shopify cha-ching sound that you like see on YouTube videos and stuff. Like that was my phone. It was like the coolest thing where it was like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
It's satisfying for a lot of reasons too, right? Where it's like, hey, we did this the right way.
Yes.
Shit's working.
Yes.
And thank God it is.
Yeah. It was an execution, I think, more than anything that I was most excited about. Because again, we had done an actual photo shoot. Which we never did last year. I think we posted a reel of Colton trying on all the guys' stuff, like all of our previous stuff. That was at my previous house in a kitchen. Hilarious. With like a white tarp attached to one of those Amazon stands.
Awesome.
And Colton sitting on a bar stool from my kitchen. That's that authenticity you can't buy. Right? So cool. And I just stood behind the camera and I threw him stuff, or somebody threw him stuff, and he like held it up.
Oh, that's amazing.
So awesome. And again, like in the beginning, you're just like literally happy with any content. Like for me, like when that reel came out originally, we just posted it now, but when that reel originally came out, I was like, this is the best content we've ever done. Like we're rolling. 100%. We're rolling.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was just an execution of planning, getting the material in, getting it to our athletes in a decent amount of time so that they could start building the hype.
Yeah, let them
do the photo shoot, have actual pictures on Instagram that make you look like a real brand. Like people that aren't in St. Catharines or Niagara would want to buy your stuff because
for sure
they want to buy your stuff, not just because they know you.
Yes.
So that was like, for me, when we did 3,000 that day, I was like over the moon, and we maybe could have done more, but we sold out.
Sure. That's a good thing.
So it was a good thing. We gauge our inventory that way.
For sure.
And then, so for this drop, we're still gonna do a drop on April 4th. Again, it's gonna be very limited quantity. And then I think going forward after that, as we restock those items, like because we're doing leggings, which is like a staple in a girl's wardrobe, just like a hoodie is in our wardrobe. I want that to be available all the time.
Absolutely.
So as we replenish that and add new colors, we're not going to do these extravagant hype type drops.
It's like, we've had that. Now you know it's there.
That's it. And I think the drop will just be brand new products that we've never seen.
Okay. Smart.
So like when we do the running club, that'll probably be a drop. But once they're out, they'll just be on the website that people can get all the time.
Oh,
and
of course.
I'm really realizing that you can kind of curve those plateaus in business.
Definitely.
If there's stuff that's on your website all the time, right? Because again, we did 3,000 in sales, which was great. Over the moon. And then we wake up the next morning, we're like, shit, we got nothing to sell.
Yeah.
So then your sales dwindle
for sure,
completely drop off. So you're like living for this. You're living for this hype of adrenaline. And don't get me wrong, like the adrenaline's amazing, but like, do I want to run my business based off of
adrenaline?
Pure adrenaline.
All the time, right?
I was excited.
EpiPen.
So I know I've posted, and I can't really go back on this now, but I want to do 5,000 in sales on the next drop is my goal.
Okay.
Yeah, you heard it first, 5,000. But yeah, I think we should be able to do that with what we have coming for this drop. Awesome. And then again, as things go in the future, it'll be just, hey, on an Instagram post or a story, this has been replenished, and we're now also offering it in purple or pink or whatever
XYZ, right?
It's good to know.
So you mentioned the running club too. What was that inspiration? I know you're a bodybuilding company and you wanted to be more than a bodybuilding company. Where's the running club come from?
Yeah, so we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves into one demographic.
Yeah, one niche.
One niche, yeah, exactly. And Colton, our male athlete, our first male athlete, he's on the Brock track and field team.
Okay,
perfect.
So he's always been like that perfect kind of build for some more like athletic wear type of stuff. Like he always fit in everything that we always gave him, which he was a dream athlete to have in the beginning. He still is a dream athlete, because some of our guys that were like 270, 280 were very difficult
Look at me for
to size.
Like you,
right? So that's kind of where the inspiration came from that. It was that Colton was like, hey, we should do a running club. And the timing of it is that he just had his national event last week or the week. It would have been not this past weekend, but the weekend before.
Okay.
So we tried to roll. That's where we started teasing those reels of the mock-up spinning.
Which is pretty cool.
So that's where that's where that came from.
Cool.
And two, it's just like, again, as a business, why would you want to pigeonhole yourself into one niche when like high rocks and running is like hybrid athletes?
Of course.
Are such a huge thing right now, right? And I never want people to come to our website and be like, oh, I really like that, but I'm not going to buy it because a bodybuilder is wearing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Very smart. Very smart.
And I think that happened in the first year. And I remember hearing through the grapevine, maybe not necessarily to me, but through other people, of being like, oh, so-and-so told me that they went to the website and they didn't buy, because we used to have all of our athletes on the front page of our website in their stage photos.
Got it.
So again, just like another learning experience as a first-time business owner was like, I wanted my athletes to feel like they were on a pedestal. Yeah. So I wanted them to be the first thing that people saw.
Of course.
But I didn't realize how that was affecting some of my customers.
It was almost like tunnel vision.
Right? Yep. So the idea behind having them on the front page of the website was that their codes were there.
Yeah.
So it was like, Colton Spencer, athlete since February of 2024. Support him with code RUN at checkout, right? So it's like people come in, they're like, oh, this is cool. They have an athlete. Plus I can save myself some money at the checkout. Plus Colton gets supported. So I wanted to help build them financially a little bit, but I didn't realize that putting the stage specific photos up, whereas Colton was our only runner on there in his track and field stuff. Everybody else up there was in their posing bikinis or their trunks on stage, which I can 100% be intimidating. Right. So that's why you'll see now all the athlete photos, we might be changing them. Like I still want to have the athletes up there, but I want it to be something more where
it's a little more personable, right?
And you'll be able to tell if the person's a bodybuilder. Like our one athlete, Taylor Cross, he's like 270 right now. Like whether or not he's on stage posing or he's sitting there in clothes,
you can tell he's a large lad.
Right.
To compare like the intimidating thing with like another brand, for example, I know they went through it, Gymshark, for example. Like when they first started out, it was like completely bodybuilding. Like you go on their website, it's like these massive dudes. And like when I started going to the gym personally, I was like, I'm not buying Gymshark. Like it's only for like these big dudes. And then you compare like where it says like models wearing like large 6'1", 270, and I'm like, okay,
this is a really good scale for me here.
I was like, I was gonna
small. Is there a youth section on it?
Where's the kids collection?
So like I would look at it and I'd be like, okay, like I'm 6'1", but like my chest is like his chest is like 4 of me. So like, do I buy a small? Like, you know what I mean? So I think like that's where, and then they switched gears and went back to like, just like
casual wear.
Yeah, casual wear. And
like,
like,
a little bit more realistic.
Not just like athletes who are like competing. They went to like more of like your standard like gym goer and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they're switching back to it now.
Yeah. So that's an honest experience from yourself of like you going to a website saying, I'm actually not going to purchase.
Yep. And I think it even comes back to our content creation too, right? Where it's like, I'm not trying to post that I'm this big bodybuilder and I'm all, you know, I get this great life and shit. But I mean, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's that honest look, right? Where it's like, it's a bit more relatable than I said, going on a website and seeing this monster where I'm like, I'm not going to fit in any of that. I don't look like that. I don't want to. You kind of get that again, back to that whole personal connection where it's like, okay, you know what? No, I can relate to this. You know, I'm a runner. It's like, oh, you know, we're kind of, you know, we look the same kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, I want to support that. I want to look like that, right? So. As opposed to, I guess, Gymshark initially. But
the human psychology part behind it for me is like honestly one of the most fascinating things about running a business.
Yep.
And
that's a whole other damn episode.
Yeah, the human psychology and like understanding humans' brains and stuff. But like again, like the whole business thing in general is new to me. Because like I said, I have like an engineering tech background. So I'm learning everything out in terms of business, but like you learn really quickly what is and what isn't working and why people are behaving the way that they're behaving, right? So that was kind of
it's kind of a good understanding to have when it comes with a business, right? So you kind of, it's almost like that forethought, like what people are going to think when you start posting things like that, what you're going to come out with. So
and
that's incredible.
And like even to the website, like making your website as simple as possible because you don't want people to get distracted and forget why they came. And again, having our athletes on there was great. But then when you have 10 athletes and they start reading, right? And they're like, oh, okay, so here's Sid, here's Colton, here's an IFBB Pro. And then you're like, next thing you know, what did I come to this website for? Like you don't even, so we were seeing the abandoned checkouts of people not following through, or there's ways that you can monitor the clicks on your website and like which pages are actually getting traction. And I was like, people are getting to the first page and we're losing them. And I'm like, I'm wondering if that's because one, they're seeing bodybuilders right off the hop and they're like,
no, we're good, thanks.
Or they read. Because we also used to have big write-ups of every athlete. So right now it just says, like I said, support him with code RUN at checkout. But it used to say like meet Colton Spencer and like a whole bulletin. And
the whole reading thing would just put me off. I'm like,
right?
What's that first?
And we live in a world of like TikTok where like attention spans are like, so I want people on the website, a button there that says shop latest and coming soon.
Here's the product.
And like, let's get people there. Let's get products in their carts. Like even now you'll notice that the descriptions are like below the price.
I've even noticed that since like, you know, like coming on. Where it's like, again, the initial website and even seeing the changes now where it's just like, oh, that's new. Perfect. I'm not clicking on a little, and again, I know it's simplified. You click the little 3 lines and here it is, but it's like
there.
And
right?
Like, for me posting on TikTok, like we can see the analytics of like the retention of like if it's a 10-second video, a lot of the retention is like 3 seconds.
People,
like,
out of the 10.
And it's just like, so you got to grab that person's attention within those 3 seconds. So like I've been trying to like adjust things, but it's like
it's tough. It's a lot of trial and error, and it is even like you're saying, it's trying to understand what it is that I'm putting out there, how people are responding to it, how receptive they are to what it is and what works. And I say, we get that all the time where it's just like, your video's 10 seconds long and people stop watching it 3 seconds. It's like, why? What was so great about that 3 seconds? What was so wrong about that 3 seconds?
So, so if you have some sort of message that you're trying to deliver at the end, they're not
out the gate.
They're not even getting it.
And you kind of have to like put it at the front and then like carry into it because like people will be like, okay, like what am I watching? And they don't get to the message. So it's like, and I've been watching like a lot of videos on like how to like not go viral, but like how to make like better content so people like retain it more. And that's what they're saying. They're like, as dumb as it might look at the beginning, like post your message on the front, people will read it and then they'll continue like to see how that message is carried out.
And similarly, your concept too, right? Where it's like the second you come up on that page, it's like, here's the product, here's how to get it.
Right. Yeah, because you would imagine you got to grab them. If you can grab them and there's still a message at the end, then you could probably hold them to the end.
And then that's kind of like the approach that I've taken over this. Again, it's a lot of trial and error where it's like, you find some success, some videos don't work out as well, and then you go back to the analytics going, okay, well, why didn't this do well?
Right.
And I said, you throw that message out at the beginning and then like to give them something to grab onto, and then they'll check out.
Right.
And that's when they start sharing it too. They're like, oh, this is a message they're providing. Like this is a message their whole profile provides. Like check this person out, right?
Yeah.
But if it's like just 1 or 2 seconds of like someone talking and there's no message behind it, they're just like, okay,
you're gonna lose that focus real quick.
Right?
So
right.
What's your dream collab? Like if you could collab with either one brand, one like anime, for example. I don't know if you're into that, but like my thing's Dragon Ball. So like when Dark Sport came out with Dragon Ball, I was like, boom.
Okay.
If you had like one collab that you could like work with anyone in the world, like who would it be? Brand, person, anything?
This might sound like a pretty cliche answer, but honestly, it would probably be Raw Nutrition.
Yeah,
and like
not great documentary that just came out too.
Is there a new one or the one that was on?
I don't know. I feel like I just
like the story of with like Dom and Matt and Chris. Okay, yeah. So I've seen that.
Killer.
And the reason why I would say Raw is not even for Chris. Like, don't get me wrong. I follow Chris. Everyone follows Chris. But for me as a business owner, like if I could meet anybody, it would be Dom.
Dom for sure.
Yeah,
man.
It would be like in terms of like what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to replicate. It would be him. It's the more
Yep.
But yeah, it doesn't even have to be a collab. Like if I could
pick his brain,
meet him and just pick his brain and just talk about everything that they've done. Like obviously they've exploded at
That'll do it.
And again, like that goes back to your people. Your people being everything. And I think that's one thing I can say about in this entire podcast. I would say like the people make it great.
Absolutely.
Make it great. Like obviously Chris is an anomaly of an example. Of like of course the brain's gonna explode when he comes on. But like you never know who is supporting your brand that could take off, and you've been great to them and they bring you along or vice versa. Like so like my thing now is I just like treat everybody with respect, regardless of how big or how small their accounts are. Like account size doesn't mean
you're okay.
Account size doesn't mean shit to me anymore.
Good.
I just have famous friends.
It's fine. It's like the one sitting beside you.
It's kind of what I'm riding.
But again, like that's another example. Truthfully, like one thing that was lacking is a strong talk presence, which I am trying to get better at. But like when you originally reached out, I had no idea your videos were going
I don't think anybody did. It was just like, here they are. Who the hell's this idiot, right? Like,
but like it was the interaction and connecting with you that would have been no different if you had 30,000 followers or if you had 1,000 or 100 or 25. Like,
here we go. We keep going.
Like whatever the number wouldn't have mattered to me. Because it's all the people that you bring on that will
for sure.
And like another thing like about that is that like we did athletes in the beginning. I would never do the athlete route ever again.
Really?
Yeah, I would never do it. And so I mean, hopefully, like nothing against my athletes. If anybody watches this, like, there's no.
I'll make sure.
There's no hard feelings in terms of that. But like, that was another discussion that we have had. Is like, do we want to do athletes versus ambassadors and have like a distinction between two classes of people?
That's a good point. That's definitely something that even I thought about too, right? Where I said you get through the whole ambassador thing, and then I'm seeing to the athlete concept, and I'm like, what the hell's that?
Yes. And in the beginning, like the intentions were pure.
Sure, of course. Much like anything. The
intentions were pure was like we were a nobody, so people with a following would help us, and that's why I would never ever get rid of any of my athletes. Even if down the road I transitioned everybody into being either an athlete or an ambassador.
For sure.
I would never get rid of my athletes because like loyalty to me is huge.
Absolutely.
Like the people that believed in me from the beginning.
Yeah, from the hop.
I would never say this is the direction that we're going and goodbye.
Yeah.
If you like, this is the direction we're going, but your code will always be valid.
Yeah.
We might not. I don't know what the future's going to bring. We might not provide all of our athletes with free clothes in the future.
Yeah.
They might have to purchase drops just like everybody else does.
Sure.
But it wouldn't you kick you to the curb.
No.
We don't need you anymore. But yeah, that is something in the future I do want to work towards. Kind of
cool.
Not eliminating one or the other, but kind of
leveling that playing field kind of thing. Yeah.
And one way I thought about doing that is like starting everybody at like a 15% discount code, and as their sales increase that discount code. So, good thing I didn't set it at 5.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's crazy.
The first week, but I think like maybe like a tiered system.
Yeah.
Again, this is the first time that we've like even Britt's gonna be like, oh, we need to
Perfect.
Man, why's your phone blowing up?
Yeah.
That's something
This
that
is
I would
live.
like to see in the future.
Yeah.
Is because we've met so many people that aren't athletes that I want to bring on the journey.
Of course.
And I don't want to have to say, oh, you can maybe be that one day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you're willing to come on this journey with us now, because the truth of the matter is like, yeah, we're great for being a little bit attractive now, but we're like the tiniest fish in a massive ocean.
Yeah.
Of course.
And I'm in no position to start turning people.
Yeah, we're not picking and choosing.
Yeah.
We're not. Yeah.
If you're willing to attach your name to my brand and come along for the ride, 100%.
I think what it comes down to is like you never know what people can bring to the table either. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna take a lot of credit for but I gave you ideas for your content, and like I don't think we would have started this podcast if I didn't like push and be like,
no, for sure.
We joked about it. We're
yeah,
like,
well, you with the podcast and me with the content
Yeah.
creation, right? Where you had no interest in that, and I'm going like, yeah, podcast. What am I gonna talk about?
But like we both for me and Ty, like we both have our strengths and weaknesses and everything, and like we feed off of that and like make things happen because of it. So like you said, with like ambassadors and stuff and taking people on, like you just never know what someone can bring to the table, and it's just like, yeah, you don't want to turn anyone away because of that. It's just, and you'll see like what people eventually it shows.
For sure.
It shows. So
Yeah.
Oh, and again, it sounds super corny, super cliche, but when you really break that down, it's like you make some good points.
Yeah.
100%. No, I get that.
We have ambassadors that are crushing sales.
Yeah.
Crushing. Not that our athletes aren't.
Yes,
but
but
it's like if you chase these people with big accounts because you think that the account is what's going to get them to purchase, or they're following the purchase because their account's big, like that was a lesson that I learned really, really quick. It's because somebody can have 1,000 followers and have a ton of engagement. All 1,000 of those people relate to that person.
For sure.
And when the drop goes, they're going to go because of that.
And that's that quality over quantity mindset too, right?
Right? Versus somebody that has 80,000 or 90,000 followers, but nobody can really relate to them because their life just seems so drastically different.
Yep.
That like, yeah, they'll always continue to follow them, but there's no guarantee that they're going to generate sales as they throw them back.
Yep.
For sure. For sure.
No, that's a good way to look at it too, right? So, no, I like it.
Yeah. So finding a way to merge that in the future is definitely a goal of mine because, like I said, I'm at a stage now where I just want to bring anybody who's willing to come along for the ride. I want to bring them on.
And why not?
Like I said, back to that point about this weekend, like the amount of girls that messaged and said thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Like,
awesome.
What do you mean allowing?
Yeah.
It's like, I should be thanking you.
Absolutely.
I'm here dedicating your time. So at this stage in the game, it's a two-way street.
Oh, for sure.
Right? It's a value. I give another example, like the photographer that came. We had a secondary photographer this weekend.
Oh, nice.
So we paid the owner of the studio to do our photography. And this guy messaged me on Instagram was like, hey man, can I come in and take photos? And I was like, the reality is I would love to have you, man. I was like, we just don't have money.
Yep.
Right? Like the funds are going towards jobs and other things. Like I can't pay you, but you're more than welcome to come.
Yeah.
And stay for as long as you want, 1 hour, 7 hours. Take the photos, and all I can offer you at this time is an exchange of value.
Yeah, for sure.
I can have all those girls follow you. I can have all the girls tag you and stuff, but that's kind of all I can bring. There's no
And sometimes that's what you need.
That's
Though,
all you
right?
need, yeah.
Yep.
So, and he was totally on board with it. And now that's another connection
For sure.
that we have.
There you go, and again, that mutual respect too, where it's like, yeah, we're all starting in the same boat here, right? We're gonna start paddling on together. So, anything else? You got anything else, Glenn? We've been talking.
I got nothing else. You have anything for us, or you just?
If I could leave something,
Here we go.
Of course.
Maybe talk about some mistakes.
Of course.
Done.
Yeah.
I would say just own them.
Yep.
I would just say own mistakes. Two mistakes that I can give stories of is one, we ordered a ton of shorts and logos. Again, that was to try and bring business to Canadian suppliers.
Yep.
And then trying to get the logos on them here was an absolute nightmare. So I had like $4,000 worth of shorts here with no logos at.
Oh,
So
no.
we're finally just getting them out on this drop.
Oh, man.
I've had them in a box for like a year.
Come on.
Yeah. So it's like, don't ever let something, a problem intimidate you to where like you feel like mailing it in or that you can't overcome it. Just let the wheels do what they do and you'll figure it out.
Okay.
And one of the other biggest mistakes that we made is we did an event last year. At our first national show, we went and had a booth. There was a spelling mistake on our shirt.
Oh no!
Oh no! The proofread guy took a day off.
Yeah, clearly.
That's kind of rare. That's kind of rare, though. No,
it is. But like
imagine you like get to the level of like Gymshark, for example. Someone who bought that shirt with a spelling mistake, they're like
Jim Sark.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I got that Jim Sark T-shirt.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy
So
though.
yeah, we didn't realize until 6 p.m. that night.
No.
The whole day.
Oh,
And it was a record. It was a record event. It was also Sid was competing at nationals.
Yep.
So it was her show. Thankfully, we were dating at the time, so it wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
That's that make or break right there.
So she's like, "Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. You put out a shirt with a spelling mistake."
Oh,
So,
wow.
again, it was like this high because we had done the most sales we had ever done in person. It was like we had done $2,000 of sales that day, and then somebody told us at 6 p.m. They're like, "Hey, you know that there's a spelling mistake on my shirt, right?"
It's unique.
That's crazy.
That's actually the word that was misspelled.
Yeah.
Like, bothered me to no end, and we left from Sid's show and drove straight to the cottage for a week of family vacation and like consumed.
Oh, 100%.
It was like, what am I going to do? Like, how do we bounce back from this? And like the problems at the time seemed like so insurmountable.
Yep.
Like this is going to bury the business.
Well, it capsizes, right? I mean,
it's like just own it.
Yeah.
Like we did. We made a post while we were at the cottage because I just like couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, we were having this debate of like, do you think people will even notice? Because it was a word qualifier, and we spelled it Q A U.
That'll do it. Kawawa.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm still not a great speller.
Yeah.
We know who the proofread guy was.
There was like so not noticeable that like people and where it was on the shirt.
Yeah, it wasn't like you spelled rebellious wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, like the show was on a Saturday, and this was like the Monday or the Sunday night, and we're like, when people get home and start posting this on Instagram, like I don't even know whether that storm, like people start sharing it and they haven't noticed it yet.
Yeah.
And then somebody points it out when they feel silly, and they come to us. We just like made a post about it, and I think the caption was, "We fucked up."
Good.
Good.
That's the best way to own it. That's not attention grab, right? Yeah. It's not like we sorry. No, we fucked up, man.
Good.
So understanding. It was unbelievable.
That's
Good though.
awesome. That's so
Unbelievable.
cool.
Like, so we made the post. We were like, we'll replace everybody's shirt for free.
Amazing.
The amount of people that didn't even want the shirt replaced was like, oh, we love it just
the way it is.
Just how it is.
I think it's like you just like, because you reached out and like offered to do it, I think people are more receptive of that. They're like,
Personal
okay, like
connection.
it's a personability, right?
Yeah.
And like when they see that, they're like, okay, like they clearly made a mistake. Like it's not their fault.
It's not anybody but Quinn's fault.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome that you like owned it like that. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So that's like just what I would want to leave this podcast with.
Of course.
Is that like it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, and it doesn't just go for any business. It goes for all businesses.
Same with mental health too.
Mental health.
Yeah.
You guys on your podcast, like I already know you guys are going to crush it. Like you can tell, you guys can host. You guys you guys know how to engage with people, so it's only a matter of time for the both of you.
Sure.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I think we'll be able to relate and be of value to each other so much more in the future, not just because you guys are helping me with the brand.
Yep. Of course. Yep.
Level. Because I think I know you guys are going to get there too. And
Appreciate
you guys
that.
will be going through the same things where people are telling you, oh, you guys did this wrong.
Oh yeah, we're picking your brain like
Yeah.
you pick Reese's, right?
Yeah.
So same thing.
It's just like let's just own it and don't ever let that stop you from doing something, because it's like truthfully nobody really cares.
No.
Like you said at the beginning of your podcast, nobody really cares about what you wore in grade 12.
Yeah.
So it's like at the time you were like, your parents would tell you nobody's gonna care what happened in 20 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Screw you, mom. Slam the door. Yep.
Deal, right? So it's like you have nothing to lose by trying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? If you don't, you might have to own it in 5-10 years. It'll fizzle out. It'll be something that you guys did. That's my thing with rebellious.
Yeah.
But like life goes on.
Yeah.
And people will be like, oh yeah, did you rebellious is no longer? And you're like, oh yeah, I guess so. Then they go to work.
Yeah.
And they forget something else. So like I just don't want any limiting beliefs for anybody who's listening to be like, oh, I'm not going to try because I'm afraid of the failure.
Yeah. You got to live in that present moment,
for the
right?
mistakes that you're going to make along the way. Just go.
You can't be afraid of failing.
Yeah. Because it can change like your life. Like
100%.
You never know.
You just never know what could happen, right? People you can
Yep.
I'm glad you guys had me on first, because you guys are going to blow up and then you're going to have all the big dogs on.
I don't know, man.
We'll have you back.
Yeah, well, there'll be a part 2 to talk about psychology. So yeah, that's it. That's episode 3 of The Weighted Mind. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Quinn, for being here.
Thank you.
That's it. Adios.
See ya.